We know polycystic ovary syndrome is associated with insulin resistance. If insulin resistance is going down, my likelihood of successful procreation is going up. And metabolic engineering, in my humble opinion, is the best way to do that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Christine Updegraff, clinical and functional nutritionist, CEO of Bellwether Wellness, and the program director for PCO Synergy, our flagship PCOS management program suite. Today is especially meaningful for me because I'm joined by my lifelong, well, not really lifelong, but longtime friend. It seems like that long. About 30 years or so, we've known one another. Dr. Barry Sears, the world-renowned scientist, creator of the Zone Diet, and author of the best-selling Zone book series. Dr. Sears was one of the very first speakers at the first ever PCOS Association conference, which was back in 1997. And I can personally say that his advice helped me bring my son into the world. Dr. Sears, it's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Well, thank you very much, Christine. It's been a long and very fruitful journey for both of us.
Well, after 28 years of friendship, I can safely say that I already have every book of yours signed, probably twice. So instead of asking for another autograph as your fangirl, let's jump into something really, really exciting. For those hearing about it for the first time, what exactly is this thing called metabolic engineering?
Well, metabolic engineering is really the culmination of about my really 40 years of research, trying to understand the mysteries of metabolism. And what it is not a magic bullet, but what it is, it's an orchestration of dietary interventions to reprogram our metabolism at the genetic level. That's a pretty powerful statement. It says we can change the gene expression using our food as a powerful drug, not a drug, but really an alterator of genetic expression to improve conditions associated with insulin resistance. Now, what are those? Oh, well, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, neurological disease, and polycystic ovary syndrome.
So it's really an important framework for understanding health overall. And honestly, that's way more empowering than the old just lose weight and take this pill advice that a lot of women with PCOS hear. So how does metabolic engineering specifically apply to women with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS?
Well, the key of metabolism is understanding there are signals coming to every one of your 30 trillion cells that tell the metabolism within the cell to do certain things. Hormones are one of those signaling agents. But if your metabolism is not efficient, basically all those signaling agents, including the hormones, the message will be miscommunicated. And therefore, there comes the mismatch. It's not the hormonal problem. It's basically the receiving problem at the cellular level. And this is what metabolic engineering does. It improves the reception of these signals to make the metabolism work more efficiently.
You often describe inflammation as the silent fire inside the body, if I'm not mistaken. But meanwhile, the hormones get all the headlines. So they're kind of like the drama queens of the health world. And then for women with PCOS, you're saying it's really important to manage that inflammation and that metabolic dysfunction. Can you just kind of explain that one more time?
Well, when we talk about silent inflammation, it's inflammation below the perception of pain. It's there, but you can't feel it. But you can measure it. But this chronic low-level inflammation causes disruptions in the communications between the hormones and the cell. And so unless you reduce this chronic low-level inflammation, even at the right hormonal levels, basically the signal is not getting through. So the two key components of metabolic engineering is to make the metabolism more efficient. And how do we do that? There's a master switch. It's called AMPK, and that can be now activated by the diet. Also, using omega-3 fatty acids to reduce low-level chronic inflammation so the signals are getting through more efficiently. Those two components basically change the game completely.
I love this because it really reframes PCOS, not just some unsolvable hormonal mystery, but as a metabolic challenge that we can actually tackle. It's kind of like discovering that the monster under your bed keeping you awake at night is actually a pile of laundry you forgot about.
It is because, and this is why metabolism is so complex. It's only now that the mysteries of metabolism are emerging. And as those mysteries become more clear, it says, wait a minute, There's another option. Another option we are not cognizant of or have not used, and that's using our diet as an incredibly powerful, as I said before, not a drug, but changer of gene expression. And all of a sudden, not only does it applicable to polycystic ovary syndrome, but every other disease associated with insulin resistance, which is virtually every chronic disease.
So from your perspective, what are the most important first steps that someone with PCOS can take to begin their own metabolic engineering journey?
Well, the first is knowledge. You have to have a little knowledge. You say, this is new. You're right, it is. So the best way to get that knowledge is go to my website, drsears.com, where I explain metabolic engineering in more detail and hopefully understandable detail. Second step, having an action plan. Okay, what do I eat? Well, I can give you guidelines, but basically say, oh, I'll get around to that. Over the years, I've basically developed a number of food products that basically allows one to basically use metabolic engineering with the least effort on their part. And those can be found on my other website called zoneliving.com. So start with the knowledge, basically knowing that basically there are dietary products that'll make that transition easier. Then you test. Again, all science is basically show me the data. We know polycystic ovary syndrome is associated with insulin resistance. So the acid test, if insulin resistance is going down, my likelihood of successful procreation is going up. And it's saying that's it, basically, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. This is a lifelong intervention. Why? Because, like I said, every chronic disease is associated with insulin resistance, and therefore the best way to live longer and live better is to reduce insulin resistance, and metabolic engineering, in my humble opinion, is the best way to do that.
True words. This has been really enlightening, and honestly, it brings about so much hope.
Well, and again, people are looking for hope because right now they're told of gibberish, really scientific gibberish, and then they are unsuccessful, and then they say it's your fault. No, basically they were not given right advice. They were not given scientific insight to what the underlying problem is. But once you have that, then the roadmap becomes quite clear.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Sears, before we wrap up, what message would you like to leave with women who are living with PCOS and feeling overwhelmed by all the conflicting advice out there?
Well, that's why I say go back to the first step. Get knowledge, and saying we know the polycystic ovary syndrome is associated with insulin resistance, and the zone diet, which is the foundation which I developed nearly 40 years ago, is a patented technology to reduce insulin resistance. And how long does it take to see a reduction of insulin resistance? The clinical data says 4 days. Great news. How long does it take for insulin resistance to come back? 4 days. This is a lifelong program. But you need to have a roadmap. And if you have a roadmap, then the likelihood of getting to your destination is far greater.
Well, we're all about creating that roadmap for our clients. So thank you again, Dr. Sears, for sharing your wisdom with us today. We're so grateful for your leadership in helping us bring evidence-based, hopeful strategies like metabolic engineering into the PCOS community. And to everyone watching or listening, stay tuned for more because this is just the beginning.
Thank you very much, Christine. And it's a great pleasure, our continuing relation on working with you for the last 28 years and many, many years into the future. Again, I want to give people, hope. I can guarantee you one thing. If you follow metabolic engineering, you will reduce insulin resistance. I can't guarantee you'll become pregnant, but by reducing insulin resistance, your likelihood of successful pregnancy skyrockets.
Thank you so much. If you're a woman with PCOS that's watching this video today and you're ready to explore PCO Synergy, which is our flagship program featuring metabolic engineering, we invite you to take the next step and learn more. Scan the QR code on your screen to get started or visit www.pcosynergy.com, your path to empowered wellness, or even empowered fertility. That all begins today. So, or you could use the Book Now button to check the PCO Synergy calendar and go ahead and schedule your one-to-one PCO Synergy clarity call where we can learn more about each other, discuss solutions, and figure out the path forward that works for you. As the PCO Synergy Program Director, thank you for joining us today for this collaborative session with Dr. Barry Sears, author of the Zone Diet book and evangelist for the good news of metabolic engineering. See you next time.